Saul Canelo Alvarez only willing to give $15 million flat fee to Triple G Gennady Golovkin. Team Canelo still not willing to give Triple G any event-related revenues or pay-per-view profits. Roy Jones Jr. beats underground knuckle champ Bobby Gunn and says he will continue his career. A disconnect between Team Pacquiao and Bob Arum. Arum says Jeff Horn fight is still on. Manny Pacquiao and Khan just tweeted Saturday night that their fight is official for April 23rd. Andre Ward flirts with retirement by saying the media and the fans have treated him unfairly. Brooklyn's favorite son Danniel Jacobs decides to change corners with celebrity trainer Virgil Hunter. Join me and my panel of experts as we try to answer these questions on Around the Ring. Let's get this party started. I gotta tell you, we got a stack show for everyone today. Joining me on the expert panel on Around the Ring, we got Ramon Aranda, an associate marketing manager for 2K, boxing editor for 3 More Rounds, and member of the TBR board. Also joining me is longtime ring announcer Lupe Contreras. You've heard him on Solo Boxeo, and you've heard him on HBO, and now you're going to hear him on Around the Ring. Also joining us is ex-undisputed middleweight champion of the world, Kelly Pavlik, 40 wins and only 2 losses, who obtained the WBC and WBO by defeating Jermaine Taylor. Sit back, relax, open up a beer, and let's talk on Around the Ring. Okay, welcome to the show, guys. First question. Brooklyn's favorite son is in for the fight of his life. Since his comeback from defeating cancer, he has done everything right in the ring to line him up against the toughest match yet in facing Gennady Golovkin. However, why fix something that isn't broken? Which means he added Andre Ward trainer Virgil Hunter to his corner. And it looks like the Whispering King will be the leading voice for Jacob. First up, Ramon, what are your thoughts?
Sort of tighten up on your weakness, which would be defense, but it doesn't necessarily translate. Even back in the 90s, I don't know why it sort of sprung to mind, but you think back to when Chavez lost to Frankie Randall, Chavez Sr., of course. For the rematch, he hired Emanuel Stewart, and we all know the late Emanuel Stewart is one of the greatest trainers of all time, but
right.
They just didn't mesh well. They didn't have the right style. Chavez going into that rematch was concerned with Randall's right hand, and Emanuel Stewart, for all of his strengths, is also pretty good at showing a guy how to improve his defensive game. Look, he did a great job with Vladimir Klitschko, another guy that had a lot of chin issues, right? But they didn't mesh well. And you look back at that fight, and Chavez tried doing a lot of defensive things. He tried getting really low, trying to get under Randall's right hand. And it just didn't seem like the right Chavez. And of course, that relationship didn't last long. So again, just going back to chemistry, I don't think it's a great match, and I think it's just Jacobs trying to figure out how he can improve on the defense.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Lupe, and I don't on that. I was when I was with Jack Lowe and Top Rank. I signed back in 2000, and for a lot of years, Top Rank was pushing, and my manager Cameron Duncan, they didn't want Jack Lowe as the trainer. After a couple of years, they may have seen something I didn't see, but, my thing was always, and I still believe it to a point, like these celebrity trainers, they're great, yeah, and they got these world champions, but they're getting a lot of these guys that are prospects that are already, transformed into good fighters or already world champions, and then they get them and they win another world title, and, these trainers are getting all the credit for it. But,
right.
But when I did make that move, though, and I'm not saying this because of any, whatever people may call it, with, as far as me and Jack, but when I made that move to go out to California, I only had the 3 fights, and then, just things with the Andre Ward fight fell out, and there was no big fights for me, and I was already pro almost 12 and a half years. But when I went out there, at first I was kind of upset, and I'm going, man, I've been pro, 12 years now. I held the title for 3.5 years, and I did this, and I've only lost 2 fights to 2 all-time greats, Hall of Famers. I'm thinking to myself, like, what else is somebody going to show me that I don't already know? And I really didn't learn anything, to be honest. You guys seen my fights and heard the corners. And when I went to Robert Garcia, I mean, and I'm not just saying this, but it was like trying to, learning all over again. There was simple, small things that I learned that I never would have picked up on, and just simple things as far as catching pads and that was a world of difference, and certain workout exercises and things like that. And pretty much, his big thing was also he took me how I was, and he knew that, and that's what he told me before we even started training camp. The first day I got to Oxnard, he goes, "I'm not changing anything on you." He goes, it's your muscle memory, your motor reflex. He goes, has been one way so long. He goes, it would take me 8 years, and at your age, at 30 years old, he goes, it may be impossible. And he goes, but what I'm going to do is sharpen what you do now, your style and everything you do now. And he goes, and we're just going to fine tune that. And he did. So to me, I kind of think, if you're just out of nowhere going to switch a trainer, like when I did it, that was 12 years in the making. You know what I mean? I mean, 12 years, I kept Jack there as long as I did. So when I did make that move, I was kind of given an ultimatum by Top Rank, but I'm glad I did, because just for boxing knowledge, when I get in with my fighters in the future, when I'm training guys, how much I learned just from being out in Oxnard. But I think that was a little quick to just at that time of your career to make that change. When I left Jack, that wasn't, I wasn't going into a world title fight my next fight. I was actually fighting the Aaron Jacobs and, Scott Sigmans, to get used with Robert Garcia. So it might be that might be a chancy thing for him right now to do that going into this big fight, because it should also play in the fighter's mind too. You're not going to be as comfortable in that first training camp, with a new trainer. You're going to be, in the back of your head, you should have be a little skeptical about it. You're in a different element. So I wouldn't have made that move, personally, just yet. I would have took like a different fight or something and got used to it.
Right, test the waters with that trainer. I mean, I have the same thoughts when it goes to Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. too. Taking on Hall of Fame trainer Nacho Bernstein, he's bringing him on to his camp for the upcoming fight with Saul Canelo Alvarez. But I sit back and I said, even that style. I mean, I'm looking at Hunter and Bernstein. Even their method and style of training fighters doesn't seem to fit the model of these two guys, of what they should be doing when they get in that fight date with those other guys they're going to be facing. It just, to me, it's like a conflict of style, especially for Danny Jacobs. I mean, he's been successful. I thought, and I could be wrong here, guys, but I thought that Danny should go straight ahead and test the jaw of Triple G. Jump on him the way we've seen him what he did with Kid Chocolate, the way we see with Sergio Mora. With me, I'm kind of getting the sense by bringing Virgil Hunter in, it's kind of trying to bring in that kind of defense and try to hug fest type of Andre Ward style. It just doesn't make sense to me at all. I don't get it. I don't understand why he's been brought on. And like I said, I always call him the Whisper King.
Yeah, no,
I don't think that style is going to be good for a Triple G. I don't at all.
Yeah,
I like the way you say, "What? Just go in there and test the power. Let's see how that feels."
Yeah. Well, there's only one way of doing it. I don't see him. I just think that everybody's trying to back up and give that distance to Gennady, and that I think the further away you are from Gennady, where he can get that jab in and slip in that right hand, it just spells destruction. Since Danny Jacobs is a big middleweight, and he's had already some success going in and just throwing that right hand. I mean, you got to admit, he's got a really good sleeper in that right hand. Why not find out? I mean, to me, you got to have at least two game plans against Triple G to beat him. And one of them is to go in there real quick and see. What was that, Ramon?
No, I was going to say, and the thing with Golovkin, too, is that, look, he's a polished fighter, and sometimes he also does it on purpose, but he can be hit. He's, like I said, sometimes he'll egg somebody on, and he'll want to get hit just to sort of spice things up if he's dominating the fight. But there's been plenty of fights where he's legitimately getting hit. Not hurt. He's got a great chin, but he can be hit. And so to bring on someone like Virgil that's defensive-minded, it just sort of takes away I guess the slight chance that Jacobs can catch him with something.
You guys on that too. I know that we were supposed to have some arguments on this one too, disagreements, but I mean some of these you guys know your boxing and I agree. And my thing too that I tell people, I get asked a lot of times, like, hey Kel, if you were to fight Triple G, what do you think, or what do you think about Triple G? And I tell everybody, I say, you know what? This kid's he's got everything. He's got all the tools to be an all-time great. He's got the power, the boxing movement, but we have not seen him tested. We have not seen, you're not going to see him tested against a big welterweight jumping up 2 weight classes. You're not going to see that. And I still don't think Danny Jacobs is the guy. But what I do think, and you guys made another very good point, is Danny Jacobs, we've seen him come forward, and you can't sit there and let Triple G, you can't back up or be a defensive fighter because he's too good. He's going to find shots. He's going to catch you to the body. Triple G has not been tested against a strong fighter. What I'm saying by that, we know he has everything, but we don't know what's going to happen to Triple G when he hits somebody and they don't go nowhere and they fire back hard punches themselves, as far as like hard or how he's going to react. Or if somebody catches him good on the chin and he gets a funny feeling in his feet, how he's going to react. And that has yet been the thing to happen with Triple G because there has not been anybody there to do that with him. And I agree with you guys. I mean, my game plan for Danny Jacobs would be, if I was his trainer, was, hey, put your gear on. You're going to take some bullets, but let's see what he can take back. Because you're a strong middleweight too, and you could hit. So go in there and see what happens. And I think that would be my opinion on it.
History has told us that once you take away the label boogeyman, that person is just a everyday fighter. And a lot of times we've seen this where guys stepped in with Mike Tyson. They were already defeated before even stepping in that ring. But it always takes that one guy to look at that other person and say, he's not the boogeyman. He's just a guy wearing 2 gloves just like me. And he's going to find out whether or not if he could take a shot. In my opinion,
it startles that other opponent. It startled Mike Tyson, and it startled people like Miranda. It startled a lot. You're 100% right. And it possibly that's what we got to see is if it would startle a Triple G if somebody comes in there and does that back to him,
I think the name Edison Miranda that you guys keep bringing up is a fantastic parallel that you guys are talking about because I do recall that, with the feature when they had, it was such a great story. You had a kid coming off the streets of Colombia. He was knocking everybody out, and he was just a big menacing figure. And the story was so good. And sometimes we have networks that just fall in love with fighters. They fall in love with the storyline. They fall in love with what they can, how they can sell this guy. And I think that's a great way of comparing Gennady Golovkin because, when I'll be honest with you now, and I have no qualms about saying it in front of Kelly. I thought he was going to give Kelly a lot more problems than he really did. And when Kelly was in there boxing him, sticking him with the jab, you could slowly see, the whole
careful,
storyline.
Lupe, careful, okay? Because Kelly's been known to throwing the right hand through the phone and catching the other guy when they're talking, man. Just to let you know.
No, trust me, this is a compliment because I think that there's nothing better than when you see yourself being proven wrong. He was just outboxing the guy, and you could slowly see Edison Miranda's own confidence, slowly dropping in his face when he was getting bloodied up and getting taken out and eventually getting stopped. And like I said, it's one of those things where if you can, I think with Triple G, I think the mistake would be to go at him right away. But, when you have a big punch or a big, he's not quite a brawler, but he's a guy, who we said will try and take your head off. If you box him, I'm a firm believer that a boxer will always beat a big puncher because if he can't hit you, he's going to get frustrated at a certain point. And I think the way to beat him would be to box him. I don't know if like Kelly said, if Danny Jacobs is the guy to do that, but I think that would be the formula that might beat Triple G.
Yeah, but see, the only thing I disagree on that is Triple G's a fantastic boxer, even in the amateur days, that shows because that's all boxing pretty much. I mean, you have some power and stoppages, but, boxing him too, it will be hard. I mean, I'm not saying go in there and just throw away your technique and just be wild, but I think you have to be the person putting the pressure on, not rushing in, but, leading with the jab, staying behind the jab, but finding in openings and, trying to catch him with something, bully the bully in a way, I guess. You bully a bully, they stop bullying you. And that would be, my thing. Not come in swinging for defense against Triple G, because that's a good way to end the night early. But come in there, be tactical, but put the pressure on and don't let him be able to set up, would be my strategy. If you box him and you're moving around, you're going to give him a chance. He cuts the ring off beautifully. Everything about his game is sharp.
Yeah, I agree with Kelly there. I think one of those, we're making the parallels to Tyson and guys like Miranda, big power punchers where, their opponents are typically defeated before they even step in the ring. And I think that's a fair assessment, though, to Kelly's point as well. We know that Triple G has the amateur pedigree. He's a much more well-rounded fighter than these guys. He can be pretty tactical himself. But I think it's just one of those things where, really the only guy that I've seen, correct, I don't know if there's someone else that you guys can probably think of, but that has come in with a good strategy, not afraid to go in there and mix it up, but, not go balls to the wall either, was probably Kell Brook. Of course, Kell Brook is a natural welterweight, so he never had the power that was going to, really hurt Golovkin or make him think twice. But he had the type of style that I think would serve well for someone that's a legit middleweight that could give someone like Golovkin problems. Guys that have good
and that was what I was getting on with that Kell Brook.
Make Triple G.
What do you think about that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay, Kelly. Go ahead.
No, just real quick. I was asked about that one too, and but Triple G said the same thing I did after the fight, the post-fight conference. They said, "Well, what was your game strategy?" And he giggled and he said, Our strategy was he was a welterweight and we were a middleweight, so that was
right.
That explained itself,
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you guys this here, because the majority of fans and media are picking Gennady to get past Danniel Jacobs, and like we talked earlier. Everybody's in hopes, even Golden Boy saying that there's going to be a showdown with Canelo and Triple G in September. But if it goes and pass on that date and it doesn't happen, does Gennady finally just say, I need to stop chasing the guy and either stick around for other guys out there that really are not that meaningful to get him across the street to stardom, or does he do the mistake of jumping up and wait and start testing the waters at 168?
I think it would be a mistake for him to go up in weight in that sense. I mean, it's not like you're talking about a guy who's,
Just a reminder, we're on Patreon. I want to thank everybody so far that's been pledging with us. If you haven't pledged with us just yet, please do so. We're only asking for $1, and if you can afford a bit more, hey, we're willing to take it. Help the independent journalism continue. Help out the shows like The Next Round with Steve Kim, Gabriel Montoya, Leave It in the Ring with Felipe Leon and myself, 97 Rough, David Duenez. Other shows that we've been producing as The Boxing Spotlight and the one you're tuning in right now, Around the Ring. Keep it up with us, guys. We truly, truly enjoy it, and we appreciate all the help that's been given to us so far.